Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Vikings First and SKOL. I'm Sally. This is Skoldiers Spice, and it's been a while. An entire week has passed since the Vikings suffered a very frustrating loss against the Los Angeles Rams on Thursday Night Football, where they had way too many self inflicted mistakes, lost Christian Darrisaw for the season, and overall, just not a good scene. But this Sunday, they are already back in primetime against Joe Flacco and the Colts. And my friend Jason is here of the Skolcial Network. We are going to talk about all of this and how the Vikings can right this ship. So let's get into it. Jason, hi.
Who is that? Why do I know that song, but I don't know that song off the top of my head?
I don't know. Actually, we need to ask Dave. I know it's royalty free, so it's obviously a cover of something.
I don't
should
know.
get
I've
to
heard it. Yeah. Anyways, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Happy Halloween.
Yes. Happy Halloween. My son
What is
is currently running around dressed as Jack from The Incredibles.
Oh, okay. That's exactly the first thing I was going to ask you is what is Case dressing up as? Well,
Jack.
hopefully you guys
Yeah.
have better weather than we do. It's currently snowing here in Minnesota, so I've only had 2 trick-or-treaters at my house so far, and it's 6:38, so kind of a bummer.
Yeah, we live in an apartment complex, so I don't think we're going to get any. So we're going to my wife's parents and hoping Case picks out some good candy for us.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm bummed. Well, I'm not really bummed, but it's like a bad problem because now I'm gonna have all this candy. I have Kit Kats, Reese's Cups, all this stuff in my house that I don't want to have. But all right. Anyway, speaking of scary, let's get into the spooky stuff because it is Halloween. Let's talk about last Thursday. Very scary scene that you were there to witness in person.
Yeah. So, long story short, you were in on this. I alternated between having a free ticket and not to the Lions game. And when I finally realized I did, it was a little late to convince my wife to let me spend $700 on a flight from Arizona. So I just kind of shot my shot at the Rams game a few days later. Way cheaper to go to, like way
Mhm.
cheaper. So I was able to make it work. SoFi Stadium is the weirdest stadium I've ever been to. It's super nice, but it feels like you're watching a football game at a Silicon Valley campus. It's very confusing. But the game started out so fun, and I was like, okay, this is going to be an offensive shootout. This is going to be crazy. And then the referees happened, and our defense happened. It fell apart pretty quick towards like the back half of the second quarter and onward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was so many scary things about that game. You already brought up the penalties. It was atrocious. It was embarrassing. They could obviously never get on a roll because they just kept shooting themselves in the foot. And I was surprised when I read today that they're actually like the second worst in the league as far as pre-snap penalties go, and that's just unacceptable.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just judging, I don't know what the solve is there. Like it seems like every year there's been a problem that's plagued this team since KOC took over. The first year was obviously just the defense in general. Second year it was turnovers to start the season, then injuries on the back half, and then this year it's mainly penalties. Like it's so many we finally got the turnover issue fixed, and we just can't stop committing penalties.
You're exactly right. It's like every year there is a theme and it's always consistent almost the entire season. I don't get it, but you're right about that for sure. Okay, so what was the scene like there? It seemed like it was mostly like a home game kind of as far as the fan breakdown.
It I'd say it was like 40 to 45% Vikings fans. It wasn't like Vegas last year, which was absolutely insane as far as the number of Vikings fans. But there was a good amount. There was some stadium-wide skull chants, things like that. The Rams fans definitely weren't very loud, and in the second half of that game, they had every reason to be a lot louder. But when
Mhm.
that face mask happened, I was on the opposite end zone, and like you could see it. It's very clear what happened, and even the Rams fans, like some of them were like dead silent because they couldn't like talk crap about the play once they realized what happened, but they also knew they won, so they were excited. It was kind of weird. There were fights outside the stadium. It was weird. It's
Fights.
LA. I'm a Dodger fan. I'm originally from Southern California, so I'm a Dodger fan. Like it's just something, it just happens.
I
People in
know,
LA, it's like New
congratulations.
York. You like to run your mouth. Oh, thank you. I'm very happy, but I'm already moving on to fully investing the rest of my mental health in Sam Darnold. So see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I think you should probably, treat yourself and celebrate it for more than it hasn't even been 24 hours, but I get it.
I'm
All right,
already
yeah,
thinking about Blake Cashman and how I can donate my foot to him. So we've moved.
right. He still didn't practice today, correct?
Yes, I there was something really weird. I don't know if you saw what happened the other day. I think it was Andrew Kramer like posted like that he saw him out there and there was a picture of him stretching and then it got deleted and then like Kevin Seifert and all the other guys said they didn't see him, but there were
Mhm.
screen grabs of 51 out there stretching and then this post has
Oh.
been deleted. And then everyone's saying, "Oh, we haven't seen him out there," but then KOC in his press conference said he'd be working on the side. So it's I don't know what's happening. It's kind of confusing, but like I still think ultimately if he was playing Sunday, unless we're pulling like some huge surprise on the Colts for some reason, that he'd be
Mhm.
practicing with the team. So I don't know. I'm so confused. I have
Right.
no idea what's happening.
It's already Thursday, so you would think he would at least be limited in practice, not like a full on do not participate. So yeah, then they've really been missing him the last two games. I personally don't think there's any shame in losing to the Lions, especially the way that they lost. But the Rams game was just so frustrating start to finish. And, the call at the end was just the icing on the cake. But at the end of the day, they did put themselves in that position to let a call affect the end of the game, which, yeah, it was just super frustrating. I would like to chalk that up to being a very short week, traveling to LA. Those games on Thursday nights are always kind of sloppy across the league. They're never the best games.
Just like
So
London.
right, right, exactly. So I'd like to point to it mostly being that, but I don't know. There has been a lot of things that have concerned me about this team the last 2 weeks. We already touched on the penalties. What is something that really is sticking out to you?
I mean, the penalties, I think the easy answer that I was leaning towards is I'm guessing it has to do with Cashman, but just not being able to defend the middle of the field. But I'm actually going to take a different route, which is Sam Darnold's vision specifically. And the reason I go that route is I just want to say, like, being from Southern California, like pretty much all my teams are California except the Vikings because of my dad, like we talked about last time. But I saw Sam Darnold a lot at USC, but his arm, like seeing him every week now and every offensive play, like is so much better than I remember. But his ability to read the field concerns me a lot. If you see a lot of the all 22 or even some of like the analysts breaking down film after these games, there's multiple plays where he's missed touchdowns just because he didn't even look that receiver's way.
Hmm.
And that worries me because I'm like, hey, we're 5-2. I consider last week a one-score game because technically speaking, it shouldn't have been 10 points. In my mind,
Yeah.
that's how I treat it.
Hmm.
And then we lost to the Lions by 2. Those extra touchdowns could have us 7-0 in theory, and we could be actually beating teams by even more. I think if this team's going to turn it around and not just have one of those classic Vikings playoff appearances that goes nowhere, but actually do something, Darnold has the arm talent. He
Hmm.
has the mobility when needed, but he has to see his receivers. So that scares me as far as like the sustainability of success this season.
I agree with you. We've already seen that Jordan Addison is obviously at least alluding to some frustrations, depending on which way you want to go with that. And I don't know, that's kind of annoying to me because he hasn't been perfect either. He's been running some incorrect routes. He's been getting penalized for just sloppy things as well. But it seems like to me this whole season, the chemistry between this team, the vibes were immaculate. And to see the little tiny cracks there, it is concerning because those things can snowball out of control. So I really hope that it's actually not that serious.
Kevin O'Connell did say they're moving to a fast break offense. And I think that's good because, like, when it comes to, I don't know what that looks like entirely. I mean, my philosophy is we should just be throwing more deep routes since we're taking so long to throw, anyways. But I had something here I saw get shared. Sam Darnold is the highest rated quarterback by 0.2% higher than Jared Goff against the blitz. And behind SKOL, most of you know him on Twitter, posted that when Sam Darnold has less than 2.5 seconds to throw, his career passer ratings 92.5, 44 touchdowns, 21 interceptions. And when he has more than 2.5 seconds to throw, his passer rating 68.8, 33 touchdowns, 40 interceptions. So he's like the opposite of Kirk Cousins. The less time he has to throw, the better. Kirk was really good at standing in the pocket, letting plays develop. So a fast break offense, as long as he's making the right read and isn't using that as an excuse to stick to whoever his primary read is, open or not, could be interesting. I'm very curious to see what that looks like Sunday. And over what I would assume, this is going to be something that we start to see introduced over the next month.
Yeah, that's a fascinating stat. I would never have believed that about really any quarterback, I don't think, because it just doesn't, it kind of defies logic to me, but that's really interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's an anomaly. And I think I think just completely that Darnold's career has come down to not his arm, not anything as far as talent, but I think it's his vision. And I definitely think that if we can shorten his time to overthink or make bad decisions, uh, it could work. But that's on the receivers to get separation. Obviously, Hawkinson coming back in a fast
Yes.
break offense will be huge.
Yes. Yeah, I think we're all so excited to have him back and not only what he's going to bring to the pass game, but the blocking game as well. Hopefully, this will be the spark that they need. And it seems like he's been ready to go technically for a couple weeks, but they've just been being extra cautious with him. So I hope in that time he's been able to work out some chemistry with the guys and get on the same page as Sam and stuff like that, because you're always going to be rusty when you come back from a major injury like that and you've missed half the season. But he did just, mold right into the offense last year, no problem. So fingers crossed on
I'm
that.
hoping. I am hoping because the offense can't keep stagnating in the middle of games. The one thing that's gotten better is at least we're consistently doing something towards the very end of games. And it used to be, it'd be under Zimmer, we'd have those pop off first quarters and then like nothing. And we'd have to
Yeah.
hope the defense scored. At least now we're kind of making an appearance towards the end of games. I would like to do stuff in the middle too. That'd be good.
Yeah, that would that would be great if they could pull that off. But all right, let's move on to the Colts. The game was flexed, which initially I was so excited about, so over the moon about for my own selfish tailgating reasons. There is just, it's just a different vibe when you can be there for longer and it's just really fun after dark. But now the weather looks like it's going to be pretty nasty and it's going to rain. And so not great to wait all day for Sunday night when that's going to be the scene. But I personally have a lot of PTSD about Sunday night games. And I know that Joe Flacco is not, he's not technically, I mean, he is technically a backup quarterback, but he's not the backup quarterback that the Vikings usually come out and shit the bed against. For example, the one that sticks out to me was against Dallas, the Sunday night game, Cooper Rush, that flares up in my mind. And there's been many over the years, Chase Daniel, Brian Hoyer, all of those
Isn't
types.
Andy
But
Andy Dalton in there somewhere too? When Andy Dalton was a backup, didn't we lose to him once? Maybe not.
oh, if we did, I don't remember that. But wasn't he a starter most of the time? Oh, maybe against the Bears? No, no,
Maybe.
he was a starter. I don't know, but yeah, there's been many over the years that
I'm
they have
looking
lost.
into this.
The
I
Cooper
can't
Rush
even keep
one,
track, to your point.
yeah, the Cooper Rush one is the most recent that I remember, and it was a Sunday night, so it was terrible and it was embarrassing. But like I said, I mean, Joe Flacco, he's different. He's a veteran. He's pretty much seen it all. He's 39 years old. So I personally would much rather face Anthony Richardson than Joe Flacco.
I every part of my soul agrees with your concern. Logically, my thought is this is that if our pass rush win rate has been as bad as it has been the last couple of weeks compared to where it was, thank you. Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
Forno. I knew that happened, and I was like, when did this happen? Um, Dude, 2020. I don't even remind me of that season. That was all pain. But I say all that. Where was I going? Oh, because I just don't know if we could stop Richardson's mobility. Now, Flacco meets the mold of everything you described, like just a pure pocket passer, dip it into the middle of the field, which has been killing us lately. So, unless the defense and Flores can figure out how to drop guys back, show blitz, drop those guys back into coverage in the middle of the field, I don't know what's going to happen, but I 100% believe like our defense should be able to stop Joe Flacco. Like objectively, they should, but like to your point, there's also the Vikings side of being a Vikings fan where crazier things have happened.
Right. And their offensive line is so good. That's another concern that I have if they're going to be able to get after him and really if they can put the pressure on Flacco, then I think, I mean, I'm obviously significantly less concerned, but if anybody hears this noise in the background, I'm sorry, the snort brigade decided to invade my personal space here. So they're pretty noisy. So okay, we talked about Joe Flacco. I just lost my train of thought because of these monsters. Hold on, what were we saying? Oh, okay. Yeah. So, I mean, they have a lot of offensive playmakers, obviously, as well. I mean, their top three wide receivers are all approaching 400 yards, which I think is impressive given that they've been playing with Anthony Richardson half of those games, who has had a really crappy completion percentage and is rushing. I mean, obviously, he's rushing out of the pocket, whereas Joe Flacco never is. So I am concerned about that as well. What do you think about that?
Well, I did see a stat. I tried to find it. It's just one of those things. I just got to start bookmarking, like build a bookmarks folder for like content and like podcast stuff where I'm like, I don't need this now, but I could use it later. And it was quarterback success against the blitz. And I think Richardson was like 44 or something like that. And Flacco was like 43, 42. He was right there.
Mhm.
I think and I think his average depth of target was like really short. It was shorter than Richardson's. So my thought process is, again, it all comes down to the blitz being effective. I think if we could disrupt that, our corners haven't looked great the last two games, but I also think we need to remember that the corners are also like old for their position. You can't just do that. Now I'm all distracted. Now
Well,
I need to
I'm
go
reading
grab
the
my dog who would freak
I'm
out.
reading the
I know, I
chat, and
saw it too.
everyone wants to speak.
Um, but I'm not too worried about the coverage side. I'm somebody who still thinks I obviously like the idea of Dexter Lawrence, that I wouldn't be mad at going after a corner. I think we need somebody who can actually like still run at full speed. But I think if we get to him, it's going to cause problems. Now, if we don't win, I believe they have a really good offensive line too when it comes to pass blocking.
Yeah.
So we struggled against the Rams, and was ranked terribly. So it depends on what team shows up. And it's so hard to know because for the first 5 weeks, okay, really for the first like 3.5 weeks of the season, like this team looked unstoppable on defense. And then for the first drive or
Mhm.
two of the Lions game, it looked unstoppable. It looked like we were going to cook Ben Johnson, right? Like, and Dan Campbell. And
Mhm.
then it's just inconsistent. And I guess I haven't been able to figure out exactly what's causing that yet. So
Mhm.
if we can show up even without Cashman and just cause chaos at the line of scrimmage and put pressure on Flacco, I think we'll be fine. If we don't and his receivers create separation, we're going to be in for a long night.
I completely agree with you. That's my biggest concern as well. And yeah, we thought at the beginning of this season, this defense, no one's going to be able to compete with this defense. I mean, Brock Purdy comes out week one, says, I've never seen anything like this before. I mean, Stroud against the Texans, it was just dominant. And now these last two games, and I don't think there's any shame in playing like that against the Lions. they're the best team in the NFC. So, but it was pretty disappointing on Thursday night for sure. But let's chat about the Christian Darrisaw loss because they did. I was very surprised that they went out and signed a left tackle. I did not see that coming. Especially, I mean, their value positions. I didn't know if I highly doubted there was going to be even anybody available. So, how do you feel about the trade
Let me just say, I almost
for
had
Cam Robinson?
an embarrassing mental breakdown in public when I realized Darrisaw was hurt during the game, because I just knew he's not a guy who walks off the field unless he's seriously hurt. Um, I love the trade. I This is something controversial amongst Vikings fans. You could believe multiple things to be true about a GM. So far, we haven't seen a ton of value from Kwesi's drafts, but I think when it comes to trade acquisitions and trade value with players, especially at the deadline or free agents who he signed, in this case, trading, I think he's incredible, especially the fact that we gave up, I believe it's 2026 fifth that could become a fourth, and we're only paying like $2 million. And then I think like $58,000 per start. Like, how did he swing that one? Like, I know he maybe, I think he had gotten benched or something in Jacksonville. But like, this guy's a starting, like a very mid-tier solid starting left tackle. These guys don't become available in the middle of a season. And
Mhm.
there's also people like, well, why are we wasting any draft capital? People forget if he signs elsewhere, which as long as Darrisaw is healthy will be the case, we can likely get a comp pick for this too. So
Right.
this is where I'm like, I love Kwesi's brain. I just would like maybe someone to be in his ear a little differently during the draft, because I think he outsmarts himself and overcomplicates
Mhm.
things, because there's
Mhm.
just so much valued assessment and proposition going on in the draft. Um, but anyways, with this, I think it was a great move. I don't think this is the big move. Um, but
Yeah.
that comment threw me. Trade McCarthy, Hawkinson, and Justin Jefferson. No, personally, not my plan. But I don't know. I think it's good. I think for the value. He did the same with Cam Akers last year. Cam Akers made a great impact. Josh Dobbs. Hopefully, this doesn't end up like Josh, but that was fun, and that was a cheap
It was
rental.
fun.
So
It was a
you
blast.
know,
Well, it lasted so.
for the value,
Yeah.
I think it shocked me. I really thought Reisner was going to move over, and we were going to switch around Brandel or Schlottman. Maybe there was rumors of O'Neal going to the left side. I thought anything was possible. I did not expect a trade.
No. So do we know what going into Sunday? Is it that likely that they are going to start him, or is he going to sit this one
I
out
would
and they're
think
going to kind
so.
of do some musical chairs?
I would think he'd start. He was working in the portion open to practice. A practice open today. It looked like he was working with the ones. So I would assume, knowing, my gut tells me as long as he has an idea of the playbook and knows what his responsibility is, that he starts, because that's not a trade this team makes if they're giving up on this season. And this team
Oh
also
no.
knows, with just how competitive the NFC is right now, and especially the North, that they cannot afford to lose over the next month, really. The next month leading up, I think we have the entire remainder of the AFC South in a row. And then I think we have the Bears. So I think they're not going to risk anything, be my guess.
Yeah, these are the games that they have to rattle off. That they have to rattle off and win. As we like, it's crazy how we got through that toughest part of the schedule, and now this is supposed to be the softer one. And they've been struggling a little bit. But I don't know. You're kind of. The more we chat about this, I'm feeling better about Sunday. I was feeling pretty down about it. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I just feel
Oh,
like with
I'm panicked. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm terrified, but I'm forcing myself to like take the Vikings fan experience out of it and just try to be logical.
Yeah,
Trying.
it's the Vikings fan experience has not gotten to me all year, and it really didn't get to me much last year either. And this week it has set in, which is not making sense to me because, like I said, I don't think I'm overblowing those two losses. I don't think there's any shame. I know I should turn this into a drinking game as many times as I've said this, losing the Lions or on Thursday Night Football. But I'm freaked out by this Flacco thing. Maybe, like I said, I think it's PTSD.
Yeah, I would think it's not either of those games in a vacuum. I think it's back to back. That's a really rough 4-day stretch to go through as a fan. And I also think, again,
Yes.
losing Darrisaw, seeing the defense start to struggle and the offense haul out, and then again the stigma going against a backup, especially in prime time. I think it's perfect prime time for us just to get PTSD and panic, which I have also been going through. And if I spend all this time trying to be reasonable and logical only for something to go wrong, I am never going to be logical again. Just done.
I'm
No
just so
more
surprised
logic.
that the NFL decided to flex this game of all games. And yeah, like I said, I was so excited about it. And now with the weather and everything, it's like, anyway, but if people in here are planning on going to the game, please come to the tailgate. I have the new tent to set up. So if anyone's tall, please come early because I need some help with that. But I know you have to get going because you have to go trick or treating and all of that. So let's wrap up. How do you think that they're going to win this game, lose this game? What gun to your head? I know it's so
It's
stressful.
just, I mean, objectively on paper, this team playing how they can play, even without Cashman, when you add Hawkinson back in the mix, being a more effective quick fire offense, this team should put up something like 38 points and maybe allow 17. So I would say what I would expect on paper, this should be like a 38-17 game. However, I just know this team and think it'll be closer than that. And look out for the potential of a Will Reichard game-winning field goal within the last minute of regulation.
Yeah, all 4 games that the Colts have lost have been within 6 points. Their total loss differential is only 14 points. So it's on track to be a close game, and the Vikings love giving us a close game. I mean, that Texans game, a feeling that I don't know the last time I felt anything like that,
I
with
was
with
so
that one.
mad because I was at the game before, and like the Niners game was great. We got to see what will probably almost definitely be the longest play of Justin Jefferson's career. It was the home opener. It was incredible. But watching the Texans game at home and like hearing how loud that place was, I was like, damn, I should have waited 1 week.
Both of those were great games, so you can't really go wrong, and you'll be
Oh,
back
yeah.
for the Bears game, right?
Yes. So I'm excited that you have the tent going to be ready to go because
Oh, yeah.
if it is anything below 50 degrees, and I know it's December in Minnesota, but sometimes it's only 30, sometimes it's like 5, I will be bundled up because I'm a desert rat and I
Yeah.
will not be tough.
Yeah, we'll have the heat going most likely unless it's like another 70-degree day in December, but I don't think we're gonna get that lucky. But oh, never mind, that's the end of November. But okay, cool. Well, I think I sadly, and I don't even really want to say this out loud, but I don't see it going. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I'm too nervous about it. I think gun to my head, I would say a loss, but I hope I'm wrong about that. But okay, Jason, tell everybody where they can listen to your show and follow you on Twitter and all that good stuff.
Yes, my Twitter handle, I believe, is right on the screen. So I always have to explain this. I made my Twitter before I ever thought of doing Vikings content. So deal with the name. Underscore Jason underscore 777. I can also be seen on the VikesNow network with Dustin Baker. Me and Brevin Bain have a weekly to bi-weekly, depending on the week, which is how we feel, show called the Skolcial Network. It's a little more casual, like basically we're sitting at a bar yelling at each other, just talking crap about sports. But yeah, that's where I mainly do stuff. I am going to be working on getting a whole new TikTok account, which was recommended to me by my affiliate partner at Sleeper. So they're like, do Vikings content. I was like, I'll start. They're like, no, just make a whole new one. It's better for the algorithm. So once I do that, I'll throw that out in the next time we talk. So
Interesting. Well, we love Sleeper. That's where we play our fantasy football league with VikesNow. So it's on. Yeah, I can't believe that I took this long to use Sleeper because ESPN and Yahoo are absolute crap. But
Now,
all right.
Sleeper's just so simple and clean, and I love that about it. It's everything you want right on the homepage. It's super slick. I hate Yahoo because you have to go through like 10 screens.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And now they have the sports betting and everything. So you can kind of do everything in one spot if you want to do that. Although, I'm a Splash Sports girl, so not a Sleeper better. But okay, Jason. Well, thank you so much for joining, and we will chat soon. Oh, we just dropped our pal Dustin Baker. He will be making his Skoldiers and Spice tailgate debut this Sunday, so don't miss that. We have a rare appearance from Dustin Baker. But all right, guys.
Now
Sorry
I
I didn't
have
get
to
to the
go
chat.
out.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, book your ticket.
No choice.
Sorry we didn't get to the chat much today, guys. I knew that we were on a short episode with Jason. Like I said, he's on dad duty. He's got to get trick or treating. But thank you guys for tuning in. This is Vikings First and SKOL. Please like, subscribe, and all of that. Love you guys. SKOL Vikings.
Like, subscribe, and ring the bell. And rate us on your favorite aggregator. And a big shout out goes to Sal and her guests on this Vikings First and SKOL production, partnered with the Fans First Sports Network. Thanks, everyone, and SKOL.